It's Mo. It is August 2nd, and August snuck up on me, and it is Women in Translation Month. So let's look at all the books by women in translation that I have on my TBR. These are going to be in no particular order. I also have one honorable mention. I'm throwing this together at the last minute, so we will also try to maybe come up with a little pile of possibilities. This is all the women in translation that I could find on my TBR currently. Maybe there's a few more hanging around. We will start with a pretty new book to me, which is Dimanche by Irene Nemirovsky. And this was translated by, this is going to be the problem with all these, right? This was translated from the French by Bridget Patterson. So I think this is a collection of short stories. Yes, never before translated collection of fiction by the best-selling author of Sweet Frances. Sweet, like en suite, not like sweet. Written between 1934 and 1942. So yeah, that sounds fascinating. Definitely sounds like something I would like to read. One that's been on many of these videos about women in translation is On Modern Marriage by Isak Dinesen. This was translated by Anne Bourne, and this is a nonfiction by the author of Out of Africa. Another new book to me is I, Roberta Menchu, an Indian woman in Guatemala, and this was translated by Anne Wright. I've read other things that Anne Wright has translated. Actually, let's put these in two piles and see how many are women translated by women and women translated by men. Just, you know, just for fun, just to see. What did I say? Bridget, Anne, and I don't know how you pronounce this author's name. Marie Ndiaye? But this is one that I've been wanting to read. I got this earlier this year. It is My Heart Hemmed In. She is a Senegalese author, I believe, and this was translated by Jordan Stump. I think it was translated from the French. This author is one that I've been wanting to read, and I would definitely like to get to this book. That was translated by a man. Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bastarrica is translated from the Spanish by Sarah Moss. I did read a Agustina Bastarrica last year, and I really didn't like it. I had really, really high hopes for Tender is the Flesh, and I had been wanting to read it, but now I've kind of been putting it off because I read that one last year. I recently got If Only by Virgis Horth, translated by Charlotte Brunsland. I believe Horth is a Swedish author or a Norwegian author, and I know that one of her books was up for the International Booker Prize a few years ago. Not this one, but I am excited to get them. It's a chunky boy, but the font is pretty big. The Last Lover by Can Zhu, translated by Annalise Finnegan Wasmoen. I don't know anything about. I'm interested to try this one. I've had Eliza Victoria's Old Lady Voice, translated by Charlotte Whittle, for many years. I love this cover. This is another one that I've never heard anyone talk about. I don't know what it's about. I think it does have a child protagonist, so I'm not super stoked to get to this one, but I do want to read it. Colette the Vagabond. Colette is, I think, a very famous French writer. This was translated from the French by Enid McLeod, and this was probably written in like the early 1900s. Yeah, 1955, so not even that early. I think the thing with Colette is that she's a little saucy. Another recent acquisition is After the Winter by Guadalupe Nettle. Guadalupe Nettle was also on the International Booker Prize for Stillborn recently. This is translated by Rosalind Harvey. I am interested in Nettle's work, but I don't know what this one is about. Stillborn, I think, is about motherhood, so that one is not like super interesting to me, but I would still like to get to all of these. Another International Booker winner, I believe, I don't know if this book won or another book, is Fernanda Melchor. This is Paradise. I've heard intense things about this one, and so I have often put it off. This was translated from the Spanish by Sophie Hughes. I think I did actually start reading this, and it looks like I got to page 10. So maybe this one should go on the priority list. I know that Miss Iceland is going to go on the priority list. This is one that I actually did a try a chapter of and I was going to get rid of, but then I decided to keep, and then I wanted to read for a very specific video and for a very specific reason, and then I've never read it, so I think I should probably get to this one too. This is by Otter Aver Olafsdottir, and this was translated from the Icelandic by Brian Fitzgibbon. Another recent acquisition is The Book of Mother by Violaine Huseman. This I did also actually read a few pages of, just like 2 pages the other morning when I was looking for a book that I wanted to read. This is translated from the French by Leslie Kami, and this one was really interesting. This does also have, I think, a child narrator in the beginning, but I think we like grow up with this person and learn about their mother through their eyes as they grow up. Endless Summer by Madame Nielsen is something that I've never heard of. This is a signed copy by the author, and I just picked this up totally randomly. It's translated from the Danish by Gay Kynok, Kynoch. And I feel like the first page, because I tried the first page of this too the other day looking for a book, was maybe about a trans person, so I think that's interesting. I wonder how that's going to be handled. I don't know, but I'm definitely interested in this one. I think that is probably a female translator. The Water Statues by Flor Jaggi is something that I really wanted to read for a long time, and it's all these little vignettes, but it's so dense. I think I tried to read this last year for Women in Translation. Translated from the Italian by Jeannie El-Hadef. We're gonna say that that's a female translator too, I'm not sure. Really like mythic, like it had a lot to do with like myths and legend, and it was just these really dense little vignettes. So I would like to try this one again, but I don't know if I hold out hope for having that one as being read this year. Another book that seems really fun but probably a little bit difficult to read is Portrait of a Tongue by Yoko Tawada. I've never read any Yoko Tawada, but I'm really interested in a lot of her work, and this was translated by Chantel Wright. And this says an experimental translation because I don't know if this original book was experimental or just this translation is, but like there's all these kind of split page parts, the majority of the book. I guess it's 2 stories going on simultaneously, and so I'm not really sure how you read this one. It looks like it's really fun. It could go really, really fast, but if it's very confusing, it might take a long time. So Long a Letter by Mariama Ba is a African classic, and this is translated from the French by Madope Bod Thomas. And this one also seems like pretty short and could be really interesting. I picked this one up I think I picked this one up when we were in Virginia last year when we went to No New Books. I'm gonna say that that's a man who translated that, although I'm not entirely sure. Banana Yoshimoto, I have NP. This one I got a while ago. This is translated from the Japanese by Anne Sharif. I think Anne Sharif does most of Banana Yoshimoto's work. I've read 3 or 4 Banana Yoshimoto's, so this one would be fun. I love these little editions, but I hate that they have deckled edges, and I just read a deckled edge book, so I don't know if I'll be into that. Totally random, at a little free library, I found the autobiography of a sexually emancipated communist woman by Alexandra Kollontai. This is translated, but I remember distinctly not being able to find the translator and having to look it up. So if I remember, I will leave it here or I will put it in the description down below. This seems to be like an actual little like communist pamphlet, which I think would be really interesting to read. It's very, very small, very slight and large font. So this one could be fun. I'll put that in an unknown pile. Okay, recently I picked up my first ever Elena Ferrante. Now we don't know who Elena Ferrante is. They may be a man, they may be a woman. This one is Troubling Love, which is one of their shorter works. I think Elena Ferrante is probably a lady, but they're a great mystery in the book world. This was translated from the Italian by Anne Goldstein. I don't remember what this book was about, but I know I'm not going to read the most famous works by Elena Ferrante, so I decided I wanted to pick one up that was just kind of a random one. Wetlands by Charlotte Roche, which is translated from the German by Tim Mower, is often talked about as like a weird book. I did start reading this one last year for women in translation as well. I think I only got to page 5, it looks like. And this one was like very, very sexual, and I think that's what makes it weird, which to me isn't weird necessarily, but like unsettling, off-putting, uncomfortable to read, sure. I was enjoying the writing style, but I don't know if I'm really going to enjoy the subject matter. Sing Nightingale by Marie-Helene Portois was translated by Rhonda Mullins. This was a totally random grab. I think I got this at like a little free library or book sale, and it just had a really pretty cover, and it was translated, so I picked it up. No idea what this is about. Earlier this year, I got the Aosawa Murders by Riko Onda. I've heard good things about this one. I thought I could get this one on audio, but now it's not on Hoopla anymore. This was translated from the Japanese by Alison Watts. It's really sad that I'm definitely already seeing like a lot of books come off of Libby and Hoopla, and it's just tragic because I want access to all the books, and libraries should have access to all the books, and you know, unlimited money to do with, or maybe not unlimited, but a lot of money to do with what they need to do, which is provide books for people. But I would be interested in this one. I have a Nawal al-Saadawi book, God Lies by the Nile. This is the author of Woman at Point Zero, which I read one year for Women in Translation, and this is translated from the Arabic by Sharif Hatata, and I really, really enjoyed Woman at Point Zero. Well, enjoyed is not the right word because it is a very difficult book, and it is a very hard book, and it is a very upsetting book, but I did enjoy my time with it, and I really liked Saadawi's writing, so this one might have to go on the priority. And lastly, I have Year of the Elephant, A Moroccan Woman's Journey Towards Independence by Layla Abouzeid, A Moroccan Woman's Journey Towards Independence and Other Stories. It was translated from the Arabic by Barbara Parmenter. So I'm not sure if this is nonfiction or fiction, but it does seem to have, it says Year of the Elephant novella and then other stories. So I do believe that this is a novella and then a bunch of short stories. This one would be really interesting to read as well. And I did want to mention an honorable mention. I still have not picked up my copy of The Fox Bride by Yang-Si Chu. I will definitely be reading this on audio when I do read it because Yang-Si Chu reads all her own books and her reading is amazing. The audiobooks are always so good. She's a Malaysian author, and I think that she does write her books in Malay as well. And then I'm not sure if she writes them in English, translates them into Malay, or if she writes them in Malay and translates them into English. I'm not sure if she does it simultaneously. I'm not sure if the English books that we have were written in English, but to me it kind of goes along the same lines of Women in Translation in that she speaks another language, is from another culture, and writes books that we get to read in English. So this is an honorable mention, not a true necessarily Woman in Translation, but one that I might pick up this month. So wow, we only have, out of all those books, 4 books that were definitely translated by men, 1 unknown, 21 that were written by women in another language than English and translated by a woman translator. So very, very interesting. Not including this one. I might read this one, trying to get to this one, but not including this one. I am really interested in God Lies by the Nile. I probably should read Paradise because it's so short. I was getting into Book of Mother, so I think that should go on the priority TBR. I really would like to get to The Water Statues. This one is so short, I should probably just read it. I do want to read My Heart Hemmed In, and I do want to read Miss Iceland, and I do want to read So Long a Letter, because again, it's very short and probably a good one, and like a nice mix of different cultures. So we have an Icelandic author, an African author, this is a Senegalese author. This just says French, so I'm not sure where she's from. This seemed to be like Russian. This was French. This was a Norwegian. This is Spanish, but I think she's Mexican. And Egypt. So that would be a nice mix for my pile of possibilities for Women in Translation Month. Let me know if you're reading Women in Translation in August. Let me know what your favorite translated work by a woman is. Let me know if you're planning on reading books in your native language that were translated from other languages. So like, for instance, I'm reading books in English that were translated from other languages, but maybe you speak Spanish, so you're planning on reading an American book or a British book or another English-speaking country book that was translated into Spanish. So let me know that as well. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!